NATO now appears increasingly divided over Ukraine's actions, even as Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, claims the war may be quote-unquote approaching its end after months of grinding military and political escalation.
I think that the matter is coming to an end.
Ukraine has once again found itself accused of hurting its own allies, as rogue drone incidents and repeated airspace incursions continue alarming neighboring NATO countries. After Finland publicly complained about Ukrainian drones entering its territory, Estonia also appeared to lose patience, raising questions about whether Kyiv could eventually find itself increasingly isolated. The widening drone crisis has already claimed the job of a NATO nation's defense minister after political backlash exploded over alleged Ukrainian drone strikes inside Latvia. Yet another alleged friendly fire incident involving Ukraine appears to have left several NATO countries increasingly frustrated and visibly concerned about the risks spiraling beyond the battlefield. Ukraine's repeated drone incursions into Baltic airspace have now triggered a wider NATO security alarm, with fears growing that the conflict could unintentionally drag alliance members deeper into the crisis. You see, on May 10th, Estonia publicly warned Ukraine after multiple drones reportedly crossed into NATO-controlled airspace, raising fresh concerns about air defense vulnerabilities along the alliance's eastern flank. Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur bluntly told Kyiv to quote-unquote keep drones out of NATO area, signaling growing impatience within the alliance over repeated cross-border incidents. Estonia also warned that authorities would now have to begin dealing with such incursions much more aggressively and much more quickly if the incidents continued. Estonia's warning came only days after Finland reportedly raised similar concerns directly with Kyiv, calling Ukrainian drones entering Finnish airspace quote-unquote unacceptable from a security standpoint. Ukraine's alleged NATO airspace incursions also caused political turmoil inside fellow NATO members like Latvia, where the drone controversy quickly escalated into a domestic crisis. The Latvian Prime Minister fired her defense minister after Ukrainian drones reportedly struck oil storage facilities, turning a security scare into a major political fallout. Latvia's defense chief was ultimately ousted after the drone strikes exposed what critics described as serious failures in the country's airspace monitoring and response systems. The Latvian Prime Minister openly stated that the defense minister had failed to keep the country's quote-unquote skies safe, intensifying pressure on Riga's security establishment. The dismissed Latvian defense minister, however, insisted that he had already decided to resign on his own, accusing the prime minister of politicizing the incident for public optics. An alleged Ukrainian drone misfire inside Latvia has now divided NATO's response, with alliance members taking sharply different positions on how openly Kyiv should be criticized. Latvian authorities stated that the suspected Ukrainian drone damaged several empty fuel storage tanks, though officials stopped short of directly accusing Kyiv of the responsibility. Despite the incident, Latvia still refused to publicly blame Ukraine after the suspected drone reportedly crossed into its airspace, and this is according to Russian media outlet RT. Earlier, Latvia's own defense minister had defended Kyiv by arguing that Ukraine has every right to defend itself against ongoing Russian military operations. On March 23rd, a drone reportedly exploded inside Lithuania's lake region, becoming one of the earliest incidents in a growing chain of unexplained aerial violations across NATO territory bordering Russia and its ally Belarus. Just 2 days later, on March 25th, drone wreckage was reportedly discovered in Latvia's Kraslava region, adding to rapidly expanding list of suspicious cross-border military incidents linked to the war. That same day, another drone reportedly struck Estonia's Over power plant area, deepening fears that critical infrastructure inside NATO states may increasingly face unintended exposure from the expanding drone conflict. Then on March 29th, yet another drone reportedly crashed near Kouvola in Finland. continuing a pattern of aerial incidents that has alarmed security officials across northern and eastern Europe. Then on April 1st, additional drone wreckage was reportedly found in Latvia's Reshaping region, reinforcing concerns that repeated incursions are no longer isolated events but part of a broader regional security challenge. By May 3rd, Finland confirmed that 2 military drones had once again strayed into its territory, further escalating tensions over the risks posed by long-range drone operations conducted just next to NATO borders. And on May 7th, suspected drones entered Latvian airspace again, with reports claiming that an oil-related facility was struck during the latest incident, intensifying fears of accidental escalation inside NATO territory. Kyiv has since offered to help Baltic countries strengthen airspace security following the UAV incidents, attempting to reassure nervous NATO neighbors after weeks of drone scares. Ukraine also proposed sending expert teams directly to the Baltic region in order to assist local authorities in improving regional airspace defenses and coordination. But Kyiv's proposal to assist NATO neighbors quickly triggered fresh accusations from Moscow, which claimed that the alliance was becoming increasingly entangled in the conflict. Russia responded by alleging that certain NATO neighbors may already be helping Ukraine target Russian territory through indirect logistical or operational support. Moscow also accused Finland and the Baltic states of effectively allowing Ukrainian drones to pass through or near their airspace during attacks against Russia. Those accusations intensified after Russia held an unusually muted Victory Day military parade amid growing security concerns surrounding drone attacks and internal vulnerabilities. For the first time in years, Russia's Victory Day parade reportedly featured no armored vehicles or ballistic missiles, underscoring how seriously Moscow now views the evolving drone threat.
This is what I would call the so-called globalist wing of Western elites. It is the one fighting us through Ukrainians. In that sense, they are certainly well positioned. They provoked this conflict. I have already said how it began. I haven't come up with anything about the initial starting point. Oddly enough, the discussion was about Ukraine joining the EU. Sure, they could have joined, but it escalated to armed conflict. Why? Because no one cared about Russia's interests. Furthermore, in a desire to use Ukraine as a tool to achieve their geopolitical goals, these Western figures deceive everyone, and they are now publicly admitting it. They began deceiving us about NATO's eastward expansion back in the early 1990s. We were told then, NATO won't take a single step west. So where are we now? All of this, taken together, has provoked the current situation. So I repeat that they are fighting us through Ukrainians. It's already become clear to everyone. We were also talking with colleagues recently, recalling how it all unfolded. We reached an agreement with the Ukrainians in 2022 in Istanbul, but they initialed the agreement. Then one colleague, well, let's face it, Mr. French President Emmanuel Macron, called me and said that Ukraine could not sign such historic documents with a gun to its head. This is his direct speech. We have a recording of the conversation. I asked, what needs to be done? They said, you should withdraw your troops from Kyiv. Well, we did. Then another showbiz figure arrived, then British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He said that this agreement can't be signed as it is unfair. Who determines whether it's fair or unfair? If the Ukrainian negotiating team had initialed these documents, what's unfair about that? Who decides? They promised assistance and started escalating the standoff with Russia, which continues to this day. I think things are coming to an end, but it's still a serious matter. The question arises, why? First, they expected a crushing defeat of Russia. We know very well that they expected the collapse of Russian statehood within a few months. That did not happen. Then they got stuck in this rut and now cannot get out of it. That is the problem. Although there are certainly intelligent people there, there are also those who undoubtedly understand the essence of what is happening. I hope these political forces will gradually return to power or take power into their own hands with the support of the overwhelming majority of European countries.